Hello and welcome to Wisdom Bites. Hope you're well. Thank you once again for joining us. Very much appreciated. And in today's program, we're going to be asking a very relevant question which everybody seems to be asking in the light of the geopolitical situation and something that's never happened in Bitcoin's history. And that is, are we going to get an early end to the 4-year cycle? So we'll have a look at some of the charts which may well be giving us a very strong clue of what may happen this time around. We'll also be having a look at the 60-day cycle to see exactly where we are, or have we got a failed cycle on the shorter term 60-day cycle time frame. So if that sounds interesting, you know what to do. Get yourself a cup of tea, sit yourself down, eyes on the screen, and let's get cracking. But before we begin, the usual polite reminder. Please remember, everything in my videos is just for educational purposes. So please always do your wider research before you make any investment decisions or any swing trade decisions. So we're going to go straight into the meat of the video and ask the question about something that's never happened in Bitcoin's history. And that is, are we going to get an end to the 4-year cycle prematurely? Okay, in last week's video, we had a look at two particular measurements, looking at from the halving to the top of the 4-year cycles, and also having a look at from where the bottom was to the end of the 4-year cycles. So we had a look at this last week, and what the charts are telling us is that we have between September, October and November as the most likely dates for the end of this cycle. And of course, there are other outside pressures which may have a bearing on this, like for instance, the current geopolitical situation. But we know that the charts generally have a very good, accurate picture of what's going to happen. And if you look at a third measure, which is from the tops of the cycle, i.e. the tops here on the yellow lines, to the next top, that was 49 months from the first cycle to the second cycle. And then from the second cycle to the last one in 2021, that was 47 bars, i.e. 47 months. And currently, from the last cycle's top to where we are now is 43 months. So this is again a bit premature at the moment, according to the charts. And if we went to 47 months, that would take us to October. And if we went to 49 months, that would take us to December 2025. So the only two data points for our measurement on this particular measure would suggest anywhere between October and December. And of course, we're only in June at the moment. So what the chart is telling us that we still have a few more months to go. So what we'll have a look at is look at some of the other measures to give us some sort of an indication whether we're going to have a premature cycle. If you've been watching my videos, you'll know that one of the signals for us to know when the end of the bull market will be is when we have a monthly close below the 8 EMA. And now that we're coming towards the end of the month with about 7 more days to go, we need to know exactly where the 8 EMA is. And currently, at this moment, as you can see from the chart, the 8 EMA is at around about 91,800. So as long as we don't close the monthly candle this month in June, as long as we don't close below 91,800, we can see quite clearly that the 8 EMA provides an incredible support. And this has happened in every cycle. And of course, during the cycle, it does fall below the 8 EMA, as we've seen here. But in the final year of the bull market, we tend to find very strong support. And it's only when we fall below the 8 EMA do we have an indication that we're coming into the bear market. So at the moment, this indicator is telling us quite strongly that this is well intact and that we've still got some way to go. The only worry here would be on the monthly time frame is that we have got a higher high on the price, but we have got a bearish divergence now with a lower high on the RSI. So what we do need is for Bitcoin to make very strong moves to the upside to negate this RSI divergence that we've got here. And if we move on to the weekly time frame, while we have closed yesterday with a candle below the 8 EMA, the most important simple moving average on the weekly time frame is the yellow line here, the 21 simple moving average. And at the moment, this is at 94,600. So this is quite well intact, nothing to worry about. And we do have the other important simple moving average, which is the 50 simple moving average. And once again, we've always found very strong support on this line. And that is still very much intact, as you can see, and at the moment the weekly is at 85,600, so it doesn't look like that we're going to be breaching that anytime soon. So on the weekly time frame, everything looks quite okay. And if we move down to the daily time frame to have a look at exactly what's happening with Bitcoin, to see any signs that we may be having a premature end to the 4-year cycle, we'll have a look at the daily time frame through the eyes of the 60-day cycle. And the big question is, have we got a failed 60-day cycle? This is where we started the current cycle on the 5th of June, which was day 59 from the previous cycle. And currently we are on day 18 of the current cycle. What we've got is a premature fall into the midpoint of the cycle. We've still got 12 days to go. We could quite easily get a run up before we have another midpoint here. And then with the rest of the second half of the cycle, Bitcoin has a decision to make whether to retest the 112 or whether it wants to come back and retest the low that we've got here from yesterday's daily low that we got, which was at 98,240. So the question is, yesterday when we came down to 98,000, did we have a failed cycle? Well, the beginning of the cycle was this candle on the 5th of June, and that low was at 100,426. And to have a failed cycle, we have to have a daily close below that 100,400. And yesterday's close, as you can see up here, yesterday's close was $101,015. So as we are today, so far, we have not got a failed 60-day cycle, and the 60-day cycle is still intact. And the last time we got a failed cycle, if we go left here, we remember this was the failed cycle that we got when the price went down to 74,000. The cycle had started here with this long wick, and once we'd got below it and closed below it here, there was only one more day where we went lower, and that was the beginning of the big move that we've had since the 74,000 all the way up to 112. So even if we got a failed cycle, just be aware that it doesn't really mean that it's going to have a big massive move to the downside. Of course it could do, but the charts would suggest, especially in this time band that we've got as we're deep into the 4-year cycle, this is not what you would expect unless we have some other indicators telling us that we've started the bear market. So in the absence of that, we shouldn't really expect too much of a fallout if we do get a failed cycle. So considering that we haven't got a failed cycle yet, the 60-day cycle is still intact, and we've still got about 12 days to the end of the midpoint of the current cycle. So far, we've had a rundown on various time frames, and all of them are showing that we haven't got any signals yet that we have a premature end to the 4-year cycle. And to back that up, I'm going to show you one of the indicators that we use in the private members section, which have been very powerful signals for reversals to the downside and to the upside. And that is this signal here. As you can see with the green dot, as the price left a long wick at the bottom, what we got was a strong buy signal at yesterday's close. And if you look historically, they've actually been very strong signals for the upside. This one here was only a little bit, but this one was a good one. And this one was a very strong signal. Again, this one wasn't as much, but all of them proved to be at least a little bit of a rally here. And always remember, there is no signal which is 100% guaranteed. So you have to take that with that in mind. And even the bearish signals with this indicator have been incredibly powerful, as we can see there. So even on this indicator, what we're seeing is a signal that we're about to reverse to the upside. So only time will tell if that happens. And last week I showed you this particular chart, which was looking at the market reaction to invasions and wars. And what we found was that whenever we've had situations of wars over the last 50 years or so, usually the market, despite the short-term pullbacks, once that's out of the way, the market tends to have a big rally afterwards. So this is what we should really be expecting under the current circumstances. Of course, there's no guarantee of that. Nobody has a crystal ball to say what's going to happen. All we can do is look at the historical charts of what's happened in the past and project that forward to give us an idea in terms of what may possibly happen. And in the light of that, we can have a look at exactly what the market sentiment is from analysts out there, whether they're thinking that we've come to the end of the current 4-year cycle. So what we have here is an article that Bitcoin's weakness shall pass after a dip below the 100K. And we've also got this article here suggesting that Michael Saylor is hinting on the next Bitcoin buy. And even here, according to some, the Bitcoin price is going to go up to 330,000. So the general consensus of opinion out there seems to be that this is only a little dip that we've got, and it's not a terminal decline for the end of the current 4-year cycle. And continuing with the news, We have recently got a Texas governor, Greg Abbott, signing a strategic Bitcoin reserve bill into law. I think they're the third state in the USA which have now officially created a strategic Bitcoin reserve. And also, if you look at the number of companies intending to buy Bitcoin, which should underpin the Bitcoin price going forward, we can see that some of these companies here, like MicroStrategy, Metaplanet, K-Wave Media, etc., all of these companies will have a strong future intention to buy more Bitcoins. At the moment, this total is increasing every single day. And up to last week, this was at around about 32 billion. So these companies have an intention to be buying, not selling. So this should be underpinning Bitcoin for at least the following few months until we get to the end of the bull market. So to answer the question, is Bitcoin going to come to a premature 4-year cycle end? We've seen from many of these powerful indicators that it doesn't seem very likely, and the higher probability would suggest, by having a look at some of the evidence as I've shown you, that the most likely outcome is that we still have another 4 or 5 months to go to the end of the bull market, and we'll see how the other signals develop over that period of time. Okay, a quick look at the liquidation heat map to give us some sort of an idea over the next 24 to 48 hours where the Bitcoin price may be heading. As the price has fallen over the last few days, this particular indicator, which has been very accurate in the past, hasn't been so accurate in the last few days as the market's fallen. So we just have to take that into account. So far, the lowest prominent position here is at 100,300 and the upper range is at 102,300. So this is what we can expect in the next 24 to 48 hours as the market takes out those leverage stops at the upper and the lower end. And finally, just having a look at the trading portfolios that we run in the private member section. Despite the fall in the markets, we're still around about the 411,000 from a starting position in 2023 of 100,000. But as you can see from the beginning of 2024, we are actually slightly down now. So the portfolios had a little bit of a difficulty since 2024. So as we know, with the Bitcoin miners, which is what the portfolio is made of, they've had a little bit of a difficulty in the last 18 months or so. But despite that, the trading portfolios held up quite well. And one of the main reasons for that we've been doing quite a few ratio trading in the private member section. And we've been highlighting a few of the opportunities going forward between now and the end of the bull market in terms of the ratio trades between the Bitcoin miners. And as you can see, from the beginning of 2024, we've done quite a lot of ratio trades. And the blue numbers here are all the profits that we've made all along the way in around about 40 trades that we've done so far. And I've been highlighting 1 or 2 other opportunities that should be coming up very soon. So if that's the kind of thing that you're interested in, if you have a look at all these figures down here, you can see we've done really, really well so far. But apart from the ratio trades, we do market updates every single day, Monday to Friday, at the end of the closing trading session, where we have a look at Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners to give us a summary every single day. And that'll obviously happen between now and the end of the bull market. And at this stage of the bull market, information is absolutely key. We also do 2 videos in the private member section, one on a Wednesday and one on a weekend, to do a deep dive into the Bitcoin miners as well as Bitcoin. And if that's something that you're interested in, then below any of my videos, you can join us in the private member section by clicking the join button here, as well as in the description box with the red button here. And if you think that all of that is worth the price of 1 coffee per week, which comes to £12.99 a month, then join the growing band of the private members here at Wisdom Bites. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. I hope you found value in the video. If you did, then please do remember to like and to subscribe if you haven't already done so. And if you've got any comments, leave them in the comments below. Until the next time, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.